I hope everyone has had a great week. I have had a very good week, a very productive week. I want to say officially thank you so much to everyone who has commented on my relaunch of the Soul to Earth podcast. It has been such an exciting time for me to come back to this incredible project of the podcast 2 years after I initially launched it, but rightly so, took a break. I'm just tapping the energy. If you're wondering, that's a way you can clear energy and reset if you're doing a shuffle. I've been really excited to share the podcast with all of you, and I have such a great lineup plan. So make sure you are following the podcast, that you're liking and sharing, and you are commenting, because I will be picking someone, a listener, to get several of you actually, who will be able to receive a free reading as long as you agree to come onto the podcast and let me film it. And then we're going to just have an incredible season. So I'm excited. So what are we doing today? Well, we're at the very end of June, and I love doing a weekly collective reading for you. Now, what is a collective reading actually? A collective reading can be seen as drawing a reading down from the collective itself. It doesn't mean it's something that you have to own as being yours, but it's definitely one of the things that some group of people in the collective are probably contending with, finding are true for them, things that they're going through, things they're learning, places they're growing, new things coming. And a lot of people tend to resonate with them. And if anything, they are really good just for guidance, direction, and validation. So I want to share with you this new deck by one of my favorite tarot and oracle illustrators, and that is MJ Cullinan. Now, MJ Cullinan, maybe you know her this or not. She created the Crow deck. And the Crow deck is very popular deck actually with a lot of people, but once MJ decided that she had done it to the masses through a publisher, she decided to take control and do the publishing herself. So you cannot get her decks any longer en masse through Hay House. In fact, you have to go directly through her website now, just like a really good Pacific Northwesterner, even though she's originally from, I believe, Boston. I'm going to move my camera back a little. She has really, done us proud by being an independent business owner, small business owner. So I love her decks. I'm obsessed with them. And this is one of her really cool ones. It's kind of a spooky one. It's called Unfinished Business. It's a ghostly tarot. And while I'm shuffling this, I'm going to tell you about this deck. So the way she created, I think she kind of has a love for all things kind of witchy and ghosty. And she based the entire deck off, every single tarot card, off of a story that I believe are all fiction, and it's based on ghostly tales. So things like haunted, let me see if I can say, haunted. I think she has one that is a haunted lighthouse. She has a haunted hospital, and you'll see the illustrations. They're just super cool. So as I'm setting my intention, I'm going to set this intention that this will serve the collective. I'm going to pull 3 cards and read from that. There's one, again, pulling from intuition. And this will serve us as we move into the end of June, into the beginning of July, and see where we are energetically. Let's take a look at these cards. I'm going to show you up close the illustrations. Oh my gosh, 2 of Swords. So you can see the ghosty, waiting here, the 2 of Swords. So some of us, there's some stuck energy. The King of Cups. Rightly so, also represents one of my guides. And then we have the 3 of Cups. So we have some really interesting energy. I'm just going to feel into this and see what I'm receiving. The thing that really draws me in right away is this King of Cups. And I feel like this is representative of if we're looking at ourselves or a situation where we feel more of a sense of maturity and wisdom emotionally. Probably as it concerns some of our connections and relationships, but also that we're in a place where we have learned really good lessons about how to care for ourselves in emotional situations and with relationships. And these can be relationships of all types. These can be relationships with coworkers, with neighbors, colleagues, with our family, our partners, things of that nature. But we're in more of a certain place because we've come to an understanding and we have gone through challenges and lessons and run the gamut of different experiences that have helped us grow and evolve. And so now it's taken to a place where we're starting again, right? We're starting again from a new position because we've filled that cup up. We've learned things. I'm hearing higher love. That, you know, that song, it's by Steve Winwood from the 90s. It's called Bring Me a Higher Love. That's what I'm hearing. And if you listen to the lyrics of that song, you'll know that it talks about more of a divine love, a love that is unconditional and expansive and reflective and doesn't ask as much because it is a fulfilled love. And so I'm leaning into this. And also the number that comes through for me is the number 2. The number 2 is a union. It tells us of a possibility of a partnership. So that could be new for some of you, or there's a deepening of a current partnership, right? The interesting thing is we are in between these two places of the 2 of Swords and the 3 of Cups. You know, the 2 of Swords, the swords are, of course, of the mind. They are of the thought. They are also communication. But because they're duplicitous and they are in the 2, they're stuck. So they are not yet moving forward. They haven't decided where they are going to go. What's the direction? And because it's leaning up against the King of Cups, which is this emotional maturity, this wisdom, there's a place where you are wondering, where should I go next with this? What's my next path? I'm stuck in this sense of, what's the right direction? What are my thoughts? The swords are a masculine action energy, right? If we think about air moves. It goes in directions, it pushes. Whereas a cups, the water energy, it stays still. It's a container for something. So we're not yet clear on what we're going to do with that emotional container where we're directing our energy. And then look at this beautiful card. We have the 3 of Cups. The 3 of Cups often represents growth, creativity. It also represents a joyous sort of celebratory often with relationships and friendships, things like that. So if we're right next to the King of Cups and we're having that experience of like celebratory, a joyful expansion, the one thing to know in a numerology standpoint, I consider the King of Cups the number 1 because it's at the beginning and at the end. And the 3 of Cups. Right here we have a number 4. 4 is a stability energy. It also stays right where it is. It doesn't always move. It's structured, right? It's got some structure in that emotion. If you're putting it right next to the number 2 of Swords, you're also still happy where you are, fulfilled, but not quite sure where you're headed. So there's still information that is needed to move forward in a situation you're in. Possibly this is relationship. Possibly this, you don't want to change a situation. Maybe it's with a working relationship of some type because you don't want to rock the boat and play with the stability of what is currently there. So there's some insight needed. Now, from a numerological perspective, when we add all these numbers up together, which I always do that in a full read, we end up with the number 6. 1, 3, which is 4, add 2, that's 6. 6 has to do with reciprocal energy. It has to do with a balance. It has to do with also moving out from a place of difficulty into something more fulfilling, more satisfying, especially when it comes to our emotions. So you're right in this place where you feel like you want to move forward. You're not quite there because you know what's on the other side is good, but maybe there's a little resistance to changing and moving forward. This is the energy coming up for many of you going into the first week of July. We're also in Cancer season. Cancer season is water, right? We're in there. And water often stays where it is, experiences things, feels things. So maybe it isn't the time for the move yet. Don't be too concerned if you're not getting the impetus to change or move directly somewhere. A number that's coming through in my head is the number 3. The number 3 is growth. The number 3 is creativity. The number 3 is going to tell you what's next. So look out for that. Thank you all so much for listening to this reading. Let me know what you think of these. And also, if you have any questions, I can also pull for the collective. I will be doing these weekly. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Again, I'm so excited to create this community with all of you. I hope I get to see you either in a one-on-one session or maybe listening to the podcast as an audience member. All right, take care.